Hello and welcome to Walker Tea Review. We're here together. We are looking at the tea. It's not about me. It's not about my personal preferences. It's about the tea, and that's what we're going to be looking at. Is a green tea today from Rishi Teas. Let's go ahead and get this one started up. If you want to go on a tasting experience, you need some equipment. It's just that simple. If you want to get in deeply into teas and experience teas in the Chinese style, I recommend something like a gaiwan, like we have here. Electric kettles always make things easier, handier to just carry around to move to different places. You may want to consider that, especially if you're thinking about tea at work. Actually, I'm just going to get out my cheap, everyday, regular old teaspoon just to give you an impression. That's a little too much. That should be good. Right there. That is hanging over the sides. That is, if you kind of crunch that up, that would probably fit onto a teaspoon. So we're going to toss that in, drop a little leaf there. I like my tea, I like the taste a little bit stronger, so I'm taking a pinch, which would probably be, that would probably be half a teaspoon. I'm just going to toss right in there, returning a little bit back into the bag. Water's been brought to a early boil, I would say, so it started to bubble and curdle a little bit. It didn't get into a rolling boil. It's been cooling for about 30 seconds, 30-40 seconds. There we go. I'm going to add that. This gaiwan, by the way, is about a 4-ounce gaiwan. Let me set this water out of the way here. Put this over to the side, put the lid on it, let the heat and the steam kind of stay trapped in there. Let's talk about this tea then, and just kind of give it a more thorough introduction. This is Rishi Teas, as we mentioned. This is their organic, and hence the word organic on here, ancient Emerald Lily. This is a USD organic. It is a fair trade certified tea. What is fair trade? Fair trade is a process or organization actually that certifies it, that goes back and says that the money that you pay when you purchase a tea goes more directly to the actual growers, the actual farmers of that tea. This particular tea is from Yunnan, which is in the southwest part of China, and those are the fair trade. There are fair trade villages actually in the Yunnan area. Okay, so talking about this tea for a bit longer here. Let's go ahead and get a sniff of it. Okay. I find that Yunnan teas have some similar characteristics. Whether it's pu'ers, whether it's green teas like this, some notes pop up more often than others. This one has that kind of straw, fresh cut hay type of smell coming off of it. That's probably a dominant note. There's a bit of there's a sweet clover element in that. A tinge of honeysuckle as well. Some of them will have a kind of a spicy note, but this one not really having a black peppery type note to it. Okay, this is Emerald Lily. Information on Rishi's website, the product page, tells us that Emerald Lily comes from ancient growth or old growth tea trees, which means, with a lot of times with old growth, that means you're climbing a ladder and reaching up, because these are very large trees, not your say chest high type bushes that you might associate with green teas in China or Japan. Or even your black tea plantations in India often have shorter, lower to the ground, easier to reach around and pluck. These leaves here, you are getting the, it looks like the Daya type varietal, which means big leaf. you're getting silvery or white, fuzzy, longer needles. This needle, say, if it were uncurled, it'd probably be about an inch in length or so. You're also getting some leaf needle pairs like this one you see here, needle on the side, leaf over as well. So let me kind of, actually I'm going to set these to the side so that I can take some pictures of these, and that's what you're going to be looking at. That's what you've just seen. Okay, put these over here. Yeah. Okay, now putting the rest of that back, let's get ready to pour, because in a tasting you do want to admire the dry leaf. There's a lot of aroma, there's a lot of story that's told in the dry leaf. Next we do move on to the wet leaf, and then finally we're going to talk about the liquor, which is the word for the classical tasting term for the broth, the infusion. Okay, so with the Gaiwan, you're leaning the lid over to the side, holding it down with your index finger, middle finger and thumb holding the bowl, and we pour just like that. Now, if you find that, for example, you're dripping too much or water starts to spill over to the side where your fingers are because you have not grated enough opening, you simply stop, press, slide your lid back a little more, make the opening bigger, and then you're able to pour more smoothly. Okay, turning those last few drops, turning the bowl in towards yourself, last few drops there. All right, set that off to the side just briefly. Let's talk about these wet leaves for a moment, because that's the second area. Tea is a smell, an aromatic experience. The nose is highly involved. All right, now there's this warm type of smell, but there's also a sweetness. There's like a cotton candy type of sweetness there, combined with a hint of a fresh, sweet green pea. So it does have sweet tinge of that vegetal type note, but quite fragrant and fairly intense as far as that fragrance goes. Again, sweet. It's almost like a baked dessert. I mean, that's the kind of feel with the heat and the sweetness coming off of this. Okay, our leaves. We've got some light green colored leaves here. Actually, a little bit of tinge of rust or brown on the edges there, indicating that did some oxidation take place. Looking for needles. Here's a needle, nice little needle, hasn't opened up. Colors have become more uniform now that we've steeped. You're kind of going back to the colors that you would see before, prior to the drying process. Okay, let's see what else. I'm getting, yeah, here's one. Leaf and what's left of the leaf and a bud pair there. Once in a while I did detect a little bit of just stem, and stem meaning the tip where a bud and or leaf were connected, like this one here. So we'll put that there. Okay. Now, moving on, we're going to talk a little bit about our cup. I'm using just a white bowl today, simply because a white bowl allows you to look at the color for yourself. I recommend something with a white background, something that's wide, fairly shallow. It allows it to cool faster, and also allows you to stick your nose in and get some of that aroma. Something here, I mean, it still has that sweetness, but it's getting into like a earthy type sweetness. It's moving over towards like baked yams. That's the kind of smell that's coming off of this. There's a definite like a yam, sweet potato type note to this. Something gives me the feeling of a bit of a it's kind of a spicy type of, almost like a nutmeg type note. Okay, let's give it a try. Okay, the astringency comes in there. And I mean, it's not intense, but it does give this kind of powdery. It's like your mouth has been sprinkled with a powder. There's that bit of a drying sensation there. Okay, the aftertaste stays with that warm kind of roasted tuber type element to it. Not so much potato, yam, sweet potato, yes. Can't really say that you had that kind of hay note that you had in the dry leaf. Still ranging in that zone of a little bit of sweetness, like a cotton candy. Of course, cotton candy by itself, it's just sweet. It has this a very gentle, subtle flavor or feel to it, association with it. With that still is a very watered down type of yam, sweet potato type note. Hint of a little bit of clover, not so much the hay, but a little bit of a kind of green clover, green sweet pea, somewhere in that range as well. The broth, the texture of it, it feels silken. It's not so much heavy. Yeah, it would be like a little bit smoother than heavy as like a chicken soup, but more silken, not as watery as that. Aftertaste is light, but I mean it's gentle, I should say. But remains or carries on for a while, especially for this kind of tea, on par with other, I would say, green teas, which, by the way, this is classified as a green tea. It does have some kind of white tea notes or white tea elements to it. One is that bright, silvery colored needle that still having the fuzz on it. That's often what you see with a silver needle type of tea. On the other hand, the aromas and the taste, I've had other white teas, white silver needles from Rishi that carried on a lot of these components, the aromas and the taste, the textures, the color of the liquor, again, similar to what I've experienced with like a white silver needle, a Yunnan silver needle from Rishi. So, looking at this tea as a whole, one, it has a lot of white tea type characteristics, especially for a Yunnan silver needle type of tea. Green tea here is referring, I'm assuming, to the process. Don't have full access to the processing methods that were used here, but given what it is, it does have a silken texture to it. It does have a nice smooth aftertaste. The notes still favoring towards something that you detect in a white silver needle from Yunnan province. So that's why there's a little bit of cross activity as far as cross categorization here. I'd give it an 85 simply because it kind of bends the rules and goes in between the characteristics of the two. A pleasant tea, something that if you like the gentleness of a white tea, but wanted something with a little more intensity to it, this would be something to check out. And we looked at it together here. This was Rishi's Emerald Needle here at Walker Tea Review.